Hello, I'm Craig Thielen, and this is the 1% Better podcast. Today I'm speaking with Andres Guzman, and he is calling in from some unknown location in the middle of Colombia, South America. Welcome to 1% Better, Andres.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Thank you so much for the invitation and happy to be here talking with a really good friend of mine.
Yeah, well, let's talk about how we met. So we met on a cruise ship, Atlas, luxury cruise line, and we were bouncing up the coast from Buenos Aires, Argentina, up to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And you worked, and you still do work for Atlas Cruises. And we met on the ship. And I think what sort of caught my eye or why we became friends is A, you were just really good at what you did. You were very positive and cheerful and helpful, which is obviously your job. But you seem to have a different perspective. First of all, I think you had a lot of interest. We had good conversations, and you seemed very worldly when we asked you questions about going on shore. You always seemed to have good advice, and we just built a connection. And you obviously are traveling around the world. Travel is one of my passions, and so we've stayed in contact. But as we've gotten to know each other, I've learned that you've got this really amazing life story. And so I thought you'd be a great fit for 1% Better. But do you remember the cruise and do you remember when we met?
Yeah, of course. Like you say, we were in the south part of South America. You were with Matt and Brenda.
Right.
I guess the first connection. I normally made the first connection talking about sports and kind of where you're from and Minnesota and the Vikings, and we
Right.
talk a little bit about that, and then of course working in the front desk in the customer service part of the ship or the vessel where I work. Was easy to interact with you and Mara Brenda and keep talking through the cruise, and I guess after that we just exchanged numbers and here we are.
Right. It's been fun ever since. So let's go back and talk about your early life. You actually you speak very good English, and you went to university in the United States. So tell us about how you got to the U.S., your early career in the U.S., and just a little bit of who you are.
Well, I grew up with really good education given by my parents, my family. So here in a private school in Colombia. Then when things were not okay here in Colombia, I moved to the States. I was able to go to school in the United States.
Was that, I'm
Did
just curious, was that a difficult thing to apply to and go to university in the United States?
what happened is that I already have an uncle that graduated from Texas A&M. So he did the whole process of getting the I-20 and the whole process of getting all the paperwork,
Okay.
and mostly the job is done by the university
Okay.
while you do that. Then I did it was to start English as a second language and start my process to start college. Then after that, I mean, it was not an easy process, but it was easy living with family members, like
Okay.
I moved to Texas, and I have to say that I have never met anybody in Texas that have treated me wrong. So,
Oh,
I
nice.
mean,
Great to hear. They
you
really
know,
love their football too, don't they? Texas A&M.
I mean, it's Mr. Craig. I will tell you, it's just how you approach to the environment, know how you let the environment approach to you.
Hmm.
I mean, if you became part of I was really into the history classes. I remember
Yeah,
history.
nice.
I 1301, I think it was, and government 2303 when I was
Okay.
in college and things like
Okay.
this. But I was always around, like American people involved in the sports part. I was really involved in. I had my Latino friends, but I had my American friends,
Yeah,
and
you
I had
you
my.
integrated with the locals or with people that were coming
I'm
probably from all over to go
and
there.
with everybody, so I have never had a problem with, never had an issue with anybody, and it was a
Nice.
really good time growing in the States, and I love it.
So, okay, so you graduated from there. Then what was your early career like?
I worked for a little bit with USA Gymnastics, like
Right. So, okay, so who did you work with? Who was the coach?
like I ended up working with Bella Corolli, Miso Misoguchi back in those times when they did
I
the
could not
preschool
believe
program.
when you told me that you worked with Bella Caroli. So he was obviously one, if not the most famous gymnastics coach ever. I think he started in USSR, Russia, and
He
then he
was
came over.
the
Yeah,
he was the one that built the U.S.
right. And he came to the
gymnastic, the
U.S. to build
female.
our program up to compete with Russia. And I think he had Mary Lou Retton, and it was in the heyday of gymnastics. Was really in that 80s, 1980s and 90s. And so what was it like working with Bella?
It was really nice guys, Also, it was a lot of coaches, like in gymnastics. Miso Mishoguchi, for example, he was the men's gymnastic, but he was building the preschool program, so I was not really involved in gymnastics. I mean, it was not my thing, to be honest with you. And then I met the owner of LA Fitness and
Okay.
ended up working for LA Fitness. That was something that catch my attention, working with customer service and in sales in Houston. I opened the first gym back in 2001, I think, when it was Bally's and Gold Gym.
Okay.
And end up working with LA Fitness as well in the States.
And so, okay, so you worked for LA Fitness, opening up a bunch of gyms. Then what?
I did banking also with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
I start working in different things involving sales. That was something that make really good commissions. I remember it was also Wells Fargo was something funny because I quit Wells Fargo and like 4 years later or 5 or 6 years later, the Netflix series or documentary came out about how they were like robbing or increasing
Yeah, they were
their
selling
money or something like
accounts,
that.
you know,
And it was in the time that I was selling and I was a really good salesperson, but I was doing, what I was like,
doing it by the
what I thought
book,
it
what
was
you were
good.
taught. Yep. Yep.
So it was also pretty good. And then after that, things start changing in the States. I start getting closer again to my family that was already in Colombia. I start traveling a lot to Colombia and met who is right now my wife. So I end up in Colombia again, and here I am.
So, okay, so you were in the States and then you started going back. You met your now wife. Is that why you decided to move back? Is to be with family and to be with
Yeah,
your new missus or new
Mrs.
girlfriends?
Guzman. No,
Yeah.
like it was like a really nice connection with her. We've been together for 14 years now.
Uh-huh.
We have a 12-year-old, and I decided to move to Colombia because of her. She's close to her
Okay.
family, and we want to be here in Colombia. Living here in Colombia is nice with good salary.
That was but that's a big decision. I mean, a lot of people that, come from South America, Central America, they get to the States. Was that a hard decision to decide to move back?
It was hard, but it was something that at some point needed to be. I mean, I'm Colombian. I was born here. All my friends are here. My family is
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Everybody is here. Traveling back and forth from Colombia to the States is expensive, and living in two places is expensive. Working in the States and having a family in Colombia, paying for two
Yeah.
houses and not being able to be together because I'm not able to save a lot of money doesn't make sense either. And like I say, I mean, Colombia is a nice place to live. I mean, it's really, really nice country to live.
So, and you at the time, this is during COVID, and so you had a job that allowed you to move back and retain the job originally, is that right?
Well, here in Colombia, you make really good income when you do something related with English.
Okay.
If I mean, having job opportunities here is hard if you don't have the degree of the degree of the degree or connections, and there is a lot of corruption here. That I mean, if you don't pay attention, you also can make a living out of it. So working with English is something that it pays really well, like either being a teacher teaching English for an academy that teach adults, not only kids or in a school, but also because of the English in Colombia, that it's kind of clear, and the people that learn English that is from Latin America, some countries like Colombia, English is kind of sounds attractive when it comes to customer service or with sales.
Sure.
I end up working in the call center industry here in Colombia for companies that are outside Colombia, so in United States or even in Spain, doing customer service in English or everything related to telephone companies,
Right.
internet, air
So
conditioning.
you had because of your education in the States, you've lived there, you have very good English. You were able to get a job relatively easy for a, I guess a global company. And then I think you lost your job, right, through COVID.
I mean, I moved to my hometown and then the company wanted me to move back. COVID, I kind of decided to retire, to quit the job that I had, thinking that I was going to be able to get a job remotely that like I have, and it was not easy. I have to move to the capital. I was wasting 5 hours of public transportation every day. That was crazy,
Just to get to, you're driving to
to my
Bogota and
work
back.
in
Yeah.
in Bogota, leaving
Yeah.
5:30 in the morning, coming back at 9:30, 10
Yeah.
p.m.
That's tough.
5 hours daily. So
Yeah.
in my hometown where I live is 5 minutes. You you go from one side to the other
Right.
one in town. So I decided to quit, and like when I say that angels, or you have your angels, or life is perfect and everything in the right moment at the right time will come to you if you do things the right way and things like that. I was looking on Instagram for job opportunities or whatever, just wasting time. And I looked for a job, they were looking for people to work in cruise lines. I had a friend that had started before and had told me that he was working for a cruise line but never pay attention. And because I have some experience as a waiter, I decided to apply it as
Yeah. How long were
you
you
know,
out of a job when you said I'm not going to travel to Bogota anymore? How long did it take you before you found this cruise line?
probably like 2 months.
Okay, so you were
No, it
looking for
was.
2 months. Okay. And
I
then
mean,
so
I
you
was
found
not.
this ad, then what happened?
It was crazy because it was October 6th. I remember uh, the day, and I sent the applications, with my resume and whatever I have, but it was for another company, not for Atlas Ocean Voyages, which is where I work right now. Um, it was for another company, and when I did the first interview, they kind of told me, "Oh, you have a really good English. Your resume looks kind of really nice, and there is a new company starting, but I don't know if they will take someone with no experience at sea. But if they say yes, they will need you before October 20, I think he say." So I was like, okay. And he say, if it doesn't work with them, we continue with this one that will take a little bit longer. And I told him, "Look, listen, I don't have any training, nothing to work at sea, the ones that you're telling me that I need." And he said, "You can do all this online." So I hung up the video call and I told my wife, okay, this is a scam.
Right. It didn't feel right. It felt too easy or something, right?
This guy is going to start asking for money,
Right.
blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. He told me that he has to call me right away. So he was going to send the information, and upon response, he was going to tell me the next step. The next day, he called me at 5 in the morning, Colombia time. I don't know where he was because it was at an agency. And he say, "Andres, the company say yes. So I'm going to send you an email with all the information." And in the bottom of the email, I remember that it says that this company will never ask you for money. Everything will be, so it kind of, but it's still like, I'm Colombian.
Yeah, no, I hear you. You're always looking for what the scam is.
And so I sent the passport and all the paperwork. I did everything, and I had to embark on October the 19th in Palmas de Mallorca. I even thought that they were gonna rob me in the airport.
So you had to fly to Majorca, Spain. Now, was that on your nickel or did they pay for the flight?
No, no, everything was paid by the company.
Okay. So that seems pretty good, but you're still like, yeah, what are they going to do with me when I get there?
Then I guess I have seen chips before in my life, but I get to this huge chip in that moment. Now that I see other chips, I know it's not that big because
Right.
our vessel is 180
It's
passengers.
actually a very
Guess
small ship. It's tiny.
it's a private luxury jet.
Right.
That's how we approach the vessel that I work for, luxury jet.
Right.
So it was beautiful, and I get there as
Wow.
an assistant waiter, but we had no guests for 1 month. So that month gave me enough time to learn a lot of the process, how it worked. I was able to get with really good people, and they gave me good advices on how life in chips was, which is not easy and it's not hard. I mean,
Were
and
you
I
one
was
of, I'm just
able.
curious, Andres, were you one of, it seems like there's a lot of young people that go to work on ships, especially in entry level jobs. Were you one of the older ones, or is it kind of a mixed as far as ages?
Probably the people that it's, let's say, my age, I'm 44, will be people that is been working in the
Right,
industry for a while already.
right.
The people that is starting in the industry is the young people. So
Yep,
it's like,
yep.
it's probably, to be honest, what I was lucky to get in this great company. I'm probably in the right place in the right moment, in this moment, like working wise. This company has treated me
Yeah, you just love it,
amazing.
right? And how many years have you been there now?
Three, and I went
Three.
from assistant waiter. Now I'm going to be the tour coordinator. I
Right.
was receptionist, front
So
desk,
you've been promoted like 3 or 4 times?
shop manager. No, I've been given the opportunity to do different things
Right.
because I have shown my,
Yeah.
let's say, where I'm good at and where I'm not. So they able to work where I fit the most. And I guess I like talking with people and the customer service part. But it's
Right.
a company that look at you, and if they see that you have potential, they will not hesitate to.
Well, that's smart. They were lucky to get you because you're not just a kid that is sort of learning on the job. You had a lot of skills, not only education, but a sense of you had a lot of jobs in corporate America. You know how to get a lot of customer service jobs. You know how to deal with people. Probably one of the things that I stood out for me was how just well you dealt with people, not just us, but everyone. And I'm curious, I think it is a very demanding job because especially like this is like you said, it's a luxury sort of yacht. It's a premium. People expect just everything to be perfect, the food, the service, the weather, the everything. And no matter how bad of a day you're having, no matter how hard it is, you might have worked 14 hours or 16 hours, you still have to put on a smile and make sure everyone's having a great experience. Describe what that's like, just learning how to deal with a wide variety of people from different countries, different ages, different attitudes. How do you approach that?
Well, that's one of the parts that you need to learn in this job. I mean, there is a lot of them. That's one of them. Talking about, like, let's talk about the crew that we have in the ship. It's obviously well trained to provide a really good service. So we do train on this, and it's something that the company put a lot of effort on how the things needs to be. Now it is on you on being responsible on how you do things and how you end up approaching these things. And the guests will see this. So I will say that you make your life easy when you're in the on duty, which is 7 days a week, or 7 days a week, or the time of your contract, which is about 6 months, normally 6 7 months. And doing your job every day and putting on effort on your goal. In my case, is my family, providing for my family, making a good future for my family. Well, would put me in a different situation that if you're probably younger and wanna make money to go and have a night 3 month
Right.
vacation after you finish your
Yeah, you
work,
were
you know?
serious. You were doing this for your career, for your family. You weren't just doing it for a life experience. You were very serious about it, right? But do they train you? I know they train you on all the protocols of how to serve food and how to really make sure that it's a great experience, like functionally for people. But the part that I think is the magic part is the interactions that you have with people, and people can feel if you're authentic. Like I can tell, even it was an amazing experience. Okay, top notch ship, very classy, very high end. But what I remember is, just the people that I interacted with, and some people were kind of heads down and just doing their job, and they would, if you asked them for something, they would do it. And some people were like you, which was you were very interpersonal. You would ask about where we're from. You would ask about our day, and it felt authentic. It wasn't just like you were going through the motions, and then you had 10 other things to do. So did you bring that based on you had that from all your other customer experience roles, or do they try to train you on how to make it a great experience for everyone? And again, some people are crabby people. Some people don't treat you well. Some people expect perfection. You deal with a lot of personalities. It's not easy, right?
What happened, Mr. Craig, is that they train you, but they expect you to be already ready for the job, you know?
Okay.
So in my experience, and it's inauthentic because I like talking with people. But at the end, all the reason of talking with the guests, asking questions about with the guests and asking where they from is to be able to remember the name, for example, related to something.
Okay.
It's being able to create a bundle with the guests. So it creates this feeling of I've been served, I'm getting what I'm paying for, and this person is here to support me. He is not doing a job. He seems to enjoy what he's doing. And in your mind, that creates a different perception when the bad things happen. In we try to do our job perfect and in the best standards possible, but not everything goes on the book
Of
every day.
course. Of course.
Bad things can happen. The ship may move more than expected. Maybe this food was delayed a little bit, or your room was not clean on time. Small things that can happen. But when you have already created this bundle with the guest, he will approach to you as, look, Andres, this is happening, and it will be easier for you to handle the situation. This I learned from all my experience on sales, on how you have to deal with the guests to be able to to touch, people buy because of a feeling of
Yeah.
emotions and these kind of things. So if you have this ability, I will call it, or this skill to psychologically or do this bundle thing, it will work better for everybody. In your job, you will not be treated as, you don't want to help me. Because if I'm telling you that it's not possible to do something, or because of security, this is not possible, then you will understand that I'm doing my best. Or if I tell you that I'm going to escalate it to my supervisor, you know that I'm not willing to take the decision, but I'm doing my best, which is transferring to the person
Right.
that can do it. And you will understand different if we create this bundle. And it is teach by the company, but you need to also put your 90%
Yeah.
focus on the detail. There is something that one of the managers say from the company, and is the difference is in the detail. The black
Yeah.
point in the white wall. Focus on that black point because that is what the guests will remember. And if you always finish with something positive, that's what the guests will remember. But it's
Yeah, I
kind of
think that's a good, I mean, a good lesson actually for anyone in any role is that if you can build a personal connection, it makes everything go better. So for example, you weren't just a waiter. You weren't just a front desk person. You were Andreas. You were a person that I knew. You knew where I'm from. I knew where you're from. Once you build that connection, now you're a real person. You're not just a worker, right? So I think that can, and you obviously learned that in many different companies, but it's also got to be authentic, I would say. It can't just be going through the motions. I felt there were people said, "Hey, where are you from?" Okay, and then they move on. And you could tell they were just asking everyone the same questions. But building that personal connection, it's got to be hard because you see hundreds and hundreds of people. But I think at the end of the day, it's like any profession, you have to enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy what you do, it's hard to fake it. It's hard to be authentic. You have to actually go, I actually like serving people. I want to make their day. I want this to be a great experience, right?
I don't know, but I mean, it's the way you see things sometimes, Mr. Craig. That's the way that I see it all
Yeah,
the time.
right.
For
That's
me,
clear.
sometimes the harder or the most rude guest at the beginning, end up being the most wonderful guests at the end. And sometimes the ones that are really joyful at the beginning end up being the ones that you're like, oh my God, we have this nice cruise with these guys that, maybe complaining for everything. Or like I normally tell my people at work, I mean, you can see that you're working and that is really hard and you're tired, or you can see that there is people looking for jobs and tired to look for a job, and you have one that is providing for whatever your goal is. This make your job being easy in what we do, and it make it better for the guests. But it's understanding also, like you were talking about nationalities, it's understanding this thing that everybody is different,
Mm-hmm.
that you may talk in a different way. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something that in the cruise industry, we have a rule that is we forget what happened yesterday. So we put
Okay.
everything on the table.
Okay.
If we have our discussion, if we have our disagreement, we sit down, maybe supervisor will be present, we talk about it, and we apologize if we have to, and we move on. Tomorrow, it's another day, and we have to start all over again. This is hard for everybody, but it can be easy for everybody if everybody helps.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
because dealing with different nationalities is difficult. I mean,
It
even in
is,
your
yeah.
environment, in your same department. I mean, I do things this way. I like to do these things way. My culture say that this should be like this.
Right.
But if you start understanding that there is different, everybody is a word, everybody has their own problems and their own happiness in their minds.
Right.
So everybody will react different, and you start seeing that the reaction is not personal. This is something that comes from maybe a lot of years behind. We just being a part of a situation in that moment with that guest or with that colleague. And if you see it like this, you know that nothing will take you away from your focus. And I think that has been my thing with my job. I have been with a lot of issues, being tired. I wanted to quit sometimes, disagreement with colleagues. But my focus was always, or has been always, provide for my family, being able to have a nice retirement later on if I save good money or do good investments. And that put me to grow and show that I was able to deal with these different cultures and different reactions, and not being
Right.
an aggressive person or whatever.
It's definitely a skill set, and I'm sure you learn every day because you interact with different people. It reminded me when you were talking about it's there's so many correlations to what you do with what we do. We're in management consulting, so we work with a lot of different big companies and lots of different people and personalities, and we are global as well. But there's this book called The Culture Map, and what it is, it's really fascinating. It maps out the different cultural aspects. I think there's 6 different dimensions, and it says this is how like Americans expect, have different sort of dimensions. One of the dimensions I think is masculinity. One of them is timeliness. One of them is how you give feedback and accept feedback. And it's very different than even like how the English do it or how the Germans do it or how Asians do these things. And the biggest thing is just understanding. It's fascinating, by the way, to see how different cultures treat, the similar situations very, very differently. But then it also just opens up your mind like, hey, maybe this wasn't really as big of an issue. I'm perceiving it as an issue, but maybe it was just a miscommunication or a misunderstanding of expectations. And once you understand that, then I think you have more empathy for each other and you just try to seek to understand what were you expecting. And I'm sure you deal with that every day. So a lot of similarities there.
Based on what you're saying, I just want to say that sometimes, even though it's hard to deal with the situations, it's just something that everybody has to do in life.
Right.
You just try to resolve as best as you can and move on, and everybody will be happy. But sometimes, and I be honest, it is harder to deal with people from our same culture. For example, when it comes to Latinos, or with there is not that many Colombians that go to but sometimes it's harder to deal
That's
with them,
interesting. We have an old saying, Andres, it's you can't be a prophet in your own land. So sometimes being in a different place and space is a bit easier.
But you were talking about it, and it's different expectations based on your culture and the way
Yeah.
that you were raised. So,
Yeah. By the way, you said something again that there's a lot of correlations. We have a saying over the years. We work with a lot of customers, and occasionally there'll be issues and challenges. And what we've learned is we used to go, oh boy, why did we have this issue or challenge? It might be the project didn't, meet expectations, the team or the resource didn't meet expectations. And we say, we need to do better. We need to do better. And what we learned, in addition that we need to always try to do better, 1% better, is that those are opportunities. Like every time there's an issue and a challenge, it's an opportunity actually for us to get closer and tighter and more trusting of each other. Because if you can work through a problem together, then you get to build a relationship and then you build trust. Like you actually, let's just say I ordered something from you and it didn't come for 30 minutes and I expected it to come in 5 minutes. And you go, Mr. Craig, my fault. I forgot, or we have a problem in the back. I will fix it. I will take care of it. Now I trust you. Now I know you and I trust you, rather than you sort of brushing it off and say, and us kind of harboring bad feelings. So not that we were always looking for issues or problems, but we always said, hey, this is an opportunity for us to build a better relationship, which is kind of counterintuitive. It's kind of what you were saying earlier.
it's 1% better, right? I mean,
It's 100% better.
you can do 1% better.
Right.
You cannot do 100% better, because not everything that happens around you depends on you only. So, when you were talking, I was related everything to once you hear sometimes things that you relate, and it's like a car. You need good tires, you need good transmissions, you need good wheels, good water, oil. Everything needs to work okay, and every single piece needs to do its part for the car to work and operate the right way. So you can only do 1%, and that 1% is what you can do to make.
Right.
First, being honest with you. I think you cannot be honest with other people, or you cannot be trustful if you're not honest with you and the people that you're around with.
Yeah, that's a good, very, very good point. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with your
you have
coworkers.
to.
Yep.
Don't hide anything. Don't hide a
Right.
personality you're not. Don't because at the end you're gonna show it, and you're gonna end up
Yep.
being that's something that will pop up if you kind of pretend to be.
Good advice there. That's very good advice. So I want to go back to this change that you made. So you left your job and you were taking a chance then, because you didn't have another job. And you said, hey, I can't do this 5-hour commute every day. I need to get better life balance. And then it took you a while, and you didn't know what your next job was going to be. And there's not a lot of jobs in your local community, obviously. And you didn't want to commute to Bogota. And then you found this job. And again, when it first came, you just I don't know about this. I've never been in this whole cruise business. I don't know if it's a scam. I don't know what it's going to be. You started very entry level, and it's turned out to be 3 years later now just such a blessing for you. You've gotten many promotions. You seem to really love what you're doing, and it's like the best job that you could have ever imagined, right? Is that a good synopsis? And then what does that teach you about just like going into the unknown? It was pretty scary for you, but then you had to do that to find this opportunity. If you would have just stuck with your current role, you would have never found this opportunity. So maybe just talk a little bit, looking back on it, what was that experience like?
Now, for a lot of people, it may sound crazy, Mr. Craig, but I mean, I'm a big believer that life will take you to where you need to be in the right time, in the right moment, and everything is experience. My grandfather used to say that the smart people make mistakes every day. The
Mm-hmm.
stupid people make the same mistake
Right.
twice.
That's good. Smart
Have
grandfather.
uh, I mean, my grandfather was like really like I think he's one of the angels, but
Okay.
probably been given this opportunity before in my life, and I was really wild at some point, I mean, like kind of was not patient a lot of times with things that I needed to be patient. Being in sales, it's something that is really demanding because if you did great yesterday, today I don't care. It's another day, and you have to do better. So it's never enough. And and at some point when life, like if I was given this job before, probably will be not something that I will do it
Right.
the way that I'm doing it right now, with the focus that I am right now, with the goal that I have right now. So
Yeah.
it will take me probably somewhere different right now for me. And that's what I say, that this industry can be, a really difficult
Yeah.
experience for some people, but I have here, and in my case, great experience for some other people because I I know what I'm doing. I'm working. I'm not a tourist person. I'm not there to travel like the guests. I'm working. I pay a lot of attention to this, and my goal is always the same. Having this job in this moment for me, it's not like like it's difficult or not. It's just like it is the right time for me to be able to provide
Right.
for my family. Either I take advantage and I am that 1% that take advantage of the good opportunities, or
Yeah.
I don't do it. I don't pay for food. I don't pay for traveling expenses. I don't pay for anything. When I'm on duty, everything can be put in what we're doing in a department, education for my daughter, and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, like you said, it was the right time and right place for you, and it's fun to see you be in that right time and right place. But you allowed it, and you were open to it, and you trusted that it was gonna come to you. So let's talk a little bit. So you've been doing this for 3 years. You've been kind of moving up the chain a little bit, or a lot, I should say. But you've also had an opportunity to see a lot of countries. Okay, so how many countries have you seen in 3 years?
Well, I mean, including the ones that I have been before this industry, you
Sure.
know, it's been, I think the last count was 58, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken, something around
Wow.
there. Obviously, being with this company, something great about this company is the size of the chip allow the chip to go to these ports where big chips cannot go.
All right.
So being able to be in Antarctica, for example, it's something that is a place, Greenland, Ireland, Scotland. I mean, every place. The Caribbean was a great season for me. It was nice to get out of work, go out, have the nice beach right in front of you, go
Yeah,
and
right.
swim,
Right.
come back, take a shower, and get back to work after 2, 3 hours on the beach was really nice.
So over 50 countries. So tell me, that's a lot. What have you learned from seeing so many different countries and so many different people from different countries? What have you learned about that?
Every culture is I mean, we are really different people. I mean, you get to see how different people live. It doesn't matter if it's, the people in Monaco or the people in Morocco or people in, I have seen here in Colombia, I have traveled a lot in Colombia, not only in the industry of the cruise ships, but I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, one of the, if I think is the first most populated island in the world that is close to Cartagena, and that is a really poor island.
Hmm.
And you get to see that doesn't matter where you are, everybody is moving to the same purpose, like trying to fight for their families, try to provide for their families, try to do the best they can. And I put here everybody, if you're in the wrong side, that is up to you, but I'm pretty sure you're doing it because you try to provide. It's not the right way, but everybody moves forward to provide for someone, and it's just hard to see sometimes the difference, between the ways of live of people. But at the end, we are 1%, so we need to do our thinking or work. But also nice to see how, for me, it's amazing to see how many years in advantage, for example, the UK has against Latin America, these buildings and all these things are also really nice to see. And the other side, the castles, and being
Yeah.
able to see all these different kind of ways of how. Hopefully, we learn a lot of culture from other countries in Colombia. Like being able to be more friendly when we driving and
Yeah.
not as crazy as we drive and things like this.
Yeah, I
Everything.
would say the same thing, Andres, that the more countries and the more of the world that we see incredible differences, right? And the differences are in, you know, traditions, obviously language. There's all sorts of dialects. It's not just English and Spanish. There's many versions of Spanish. There's even many versions of English, and how people dress, how they live. But then the more you travel and you really understand, you don't just say, "Oh, they're different, we're different," but you dig in and you get to understand, the more you see that we're all the same. We are all very much the same, and we all have traditions, and we all have families, and we want to do our best and live life and have great meals and have great times, but work hard. And it's just, people are very, very similar. And so that's what's fun, is learning the differences, learning, that makes people and cultures and countries unique. They came from different places. Obviously, history had a lot to do that with that. And then how are we all the same? And then building those relationships across that, because we can all learn from each other. Every time I travel, which is often, I learn so much. Like, I learn so much from every trip, every person, every country, and that's what's so fun, because you come back to your world and you go, I can see the world differently now.
What I can relate something really short to you, Mr. Craig. I was thinking while you were talking about where I live. Like I live in a chip. When I'm working, I live in a chip. We live there.
Right.
If we are in the Mediterranean, that is the most we go out. We are every day in a different port, but we still have to commit to our working hours every day, and we have
Right.
to be in the vessel. But let's say right now we are about 25 different nationalities
Okay.
in the vessel, okay,
Okay.
including probably every single continent. Filipinos, people from Europe, Ukraine, Portugal, United States, excursions, Colombia, Latin America, Honduras, 25 Chinese people that we need to communicate also with Chinese people from all over the world. And everybody, I know we want to show the best I mean, that we all doing great. Nobody want to show that they not doing okay, that we have a mortgage, that we may have issues in our marriage, that our kid is not doing okay in school. Everybody wants to hide those things. Everybody
Sure.
wants to show in the real world here where I am in vacation, every single family I see it in the school of my daughter, everybody wants to show the best
Sure.
they can,
Their
even if it,
Instagram version.
there you go. But in the cruise ship you can see the real life, because when you are eating in the crew mess where we eat for dinners, you can see someone talking with his wife or
Of course.
her husband or their kids and cry, and or you can see someone having to leave the vessel, which is probably something that I think every day about, because they receive a call that someone died close to their family, like his father, his brother, his wife is sick. So you kind of start living with other cultures, and you kind of start seeing that it doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody has the same way of living, which
Right.
is kind of pretend that you're okay because you need to show up to work,
Right.
showing up that everything is okay around you. You need to be okay with your guests, but at the same time you need to live with the real life that is that something is not okay, and that's when you need to create the balance, and you need to be able to express it. Like in my case, I do it a lot with my wife. When things are not okay, I kind of express myself and I'm able to relieve. And that put me in the situation to be able to handle the guests the way that I do normally, which is okay and not exploding. But at the end, you get to see different cultures living in the same place, and you get to see that everybody is in
Yeah,
the same boat. We all in the
exactly. The
same boat.
same problems, the same issues. So do you find, since you're more mature in life and more mature in your career than many of those people that you work with, do you find yourself coaching, counseling, advising, mentoring some of those people that you work with?
I guess everybody does, Mr. Craig. We all do. Everybody is a coach. You, it's up on you on how you receive the coaching that everybody is giving you, because something bad from someone can be a coach for you that is not something that you want it to be, and
Right.
something good is something that you want to be. Um, I'm not really into the coaching, like this is a step 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
It's something that works, because this depends a lot on the person,
It might just be a pat on the back going, it's okay. I've been through it. I understand. You'll be okay.
or this is the way that you should go. This is what I would do.
Right.
I know that you're thinking that quitting right now is the right thing to do. Probably there is, yeah, other companies and other opportunities, but you have this one right now. It will be better for you to finish your contract okay, leaving the doors open. If things don't go well there, you come back here. So you can give an advice, but at the end is the person the one that will be giving what they need to give to be able to get to that point. But coaching only, it's a guidance. It's like when your parents teach you something, they telling you this is not okay, but you're the one that go and touch the fire or not.
Yeah. Yep. When the student is ready, the coach appears. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun to talk with you. The last question on the podcast is always the same one, which is take a step back from where you are right now and look at your whole life. And you've learned a lot about life in the last 44 years. What do you wish that you knew now that you could have known when you were 18 years old? What would you tell yourself, or what would you tell your grandkids about just life lessons? What would you pass on?
I don't know, but my way of thinking about that one, Mr. Craig, is because, you know, I have a daughter, and the way that I see this question, they had asked me, if you have known something before.
Hmm.
I have a daughter, and everything that had happened before in my life that I changed will not put me on my daughter. This one that I have, the one with the curly hair, the one that is
Yeah,
crazy.
I've seen pictures of you guys.
She's starting the teenage year and is driving us crazy right now at home. But we love her. but everything I change from my past will not put me on having her. It will take me to another road, meeting another person that will be my
Yeah,
wife. Even if I
not
do,
necessarily changing what you would have done, but what have you learned in life that you'd pass on to anybody else?
I will learn early financial management.
Okay.
For me, it was easy to make money, as easy as spending the money that I was making when I was in this sales industry that makes a lot of money. You end up in the wrong side of the road on your goals, and at the end, financially, you're not stable, or you end up with no friends or not money either in the accounts. So I think if you're able to learn financial management in an early age, you will
Hmm.
be able to to do easier when you grow up, and kind of have a coach to worry less than how we end up worrying when we are already catching
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that's not really taught that well. I know in American schools we don't teach it well enough, so it's something most people have to learn.
But Mr. Craig, I will disagree with you in this one. But
Yeah.
where I learned how to a credit card works and how things work, where in America, in Colombia, is even worse.
Okay.
I mean, the education financially here, don't get involved in any politician or anything, but it's kind of seems that they don't want to educate people on do better
Okay.
financially.
Okay.
But in the States, it's kind of, yeah, it should be better, but you can, if you're interested, you can start taking these financial classes even
Oh,
from high
sure. It's
school.
all
That,
available. Yeah. It's just not
yeah,
mandatory.
so,
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, very good. Well, hey, what I appreciate about the conversation is I just feel like there's so much that you've lived that we can all learn from. We can all, no matter where we come from, no matter what role we play, what country, we can all, get better. We can all play our role better, and just, being really great at it, the attitude that you have, learning. I mean, you are, for me, do epitomize the 1% better mindset. You always want to get better. You're curious and how you treat your job and how you're focused on the bigger goal. So I appreciate you sharing that because it makes us all get better by learning from what your life experience is.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Mr. Craig, for the invitation. I mean, for me, this is the first time kind of interacting in a podcast. So it was a great experience, I guess, being able to do it with a friend, and being able to talk as freely and I was, and for sure with your guidance was pretty nice to do this as well.
Well, excellent. That was our first time having someone from Colombia on the podcast. So we always like to get perspectives from around the world. So thanks, Andres, for being on the 1% Better.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.